Welcome to the Fit Rich Life podcast, a show where we talk about fitness, money, and life mastery, along with the entrepreneurial journey, mindset, and much more. In today's special guest episode, I get to interview Stephanie Joshi, who is also known as Nutty Foodie Fitness on YouTube and Instagram. Stephanie is a full-time fitness content creator with over 370,000 Instagram followers and over 170,000 YouTube subscribers. I've been following Stephanie's journey for the last several years as she puts out incredibly fun and inspiring content around fitness, food, mindset, and truly living a life worth living. In this episode, here are some things you will learn. 1, what it takes to become a full-time content creator and how Stephanie was able to leave her corporate job. 2, where the majority of Stephanie's content creation money comes from. Please note that it's not from YouTube ad revenue. 3, why she chose to take on the challenge of eating 10,000 calories in a single day. 4, what getting into endurance sports has done for her life and why and how she got into it, and a whole lot more. This is a great episode for anyone interested in online entrepreneurship, the content creator career, endurance sports, or really anyone who loves being a foodie and is also into fitness. Please enjoy a wide-ranging conversation with the brilliant, fun, loving, and inspiring person that is Stephanie Joshi, aka Nutty Foodie Fitness. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Hi.
So good to have you here. Before I actually introduce you, I just got to ask, how the heck did you eat 10,000 calories in a single day?
Do you know what? Easy.
Easy.
Too easy.
So
I enjoy my food way too much. So it was a great day.
So why did you even attempt to do that? Why 10,000 calories?
Silly idea. And I'm putting this fully on to my audience because on Instagram, the day I hit 10,000 followers, my followers would thought it was a great idea for me to go ahead and eat 10,000 calories on YouTube. So it's on them, but that's why I made a YouTube channel and ate the food.
Yeah. It's such a crazy thing to me because I'm very used to seeing like male content creators, like, do like a 10,000 calorie challenge or whatever. But really, in my experience, you were the first female that I'd ever seen even like attempt to do that, let alone like talk about it or like make a YouTube video about it. But just to introduce you to my audience, so we have Stephanie Joshi with us. She goes by Nutty Foodie Fitness, and she's a fitness content creator, a fitness vlogger on YouTube. She has approximately over 370,000 subscribers or followers on Instagram, over 170,000 on YouTube. And I've been following her journey probably for the last 4 or 5 years because mostly because of her energy. She just has a really infectious energy that really promotes fitness, but also like tons of good food. And I've just been consuming your content. So it's such a pleasure to have you on the show to talk about your entrepreneurial journey, your fitness journey. And so thank you so much for coming on the show, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for the introduction as well. You bigged me up.
Yeah. So let's go back to kind of the beginning. When did you first get into fitness?
I was 24 years old when I first walked into a gym.
And prior to that, what were you doing? Were you doing anything? Did you play sports? And zero, nothing.
Absolutely zero. If there was one person you can count on in a PE class that wouldn't be there or trying to make excuses to not be there, it was me. I hated exercise.
So why did you actually go to the gym?
It's a very, very weird story, and I almost wish like this wasn't my story because it almost sounds made up, if I'm honest. But I was working as a freelance illustrator, and I got a DM on Instagram. At this point didn't have Nutty Foodie Fitness. I was a normal, regular person, and I got a DM from someone that I had gone to school with, and she hadn't spoken to her in years, and she out of nowhere asked me if I could help her train. And I was like, I was having such a laugh in my friend group because, you know, I sent a screenshot saying, how can she think that I would be capable of helping someone train, because I'd never been to a gym in my life. And so there was all this back and forth of me saying, you know, I might look athletic, but like, I don't even know what a squat is, like, you know. And there was all this back and forth, and she was just so fixed on the idea of me helping her train that she somehow convinced me that very same day to sign up to a gym. I got to the gym. I spoke to the PTs for 5 minutes, just asking roughly what are the machines, what do they do? And then she joined me at the gym and we trained together.
That's awesome.
That was my first gym encounter. And as of that day, I realized this is actually so much fun. And yeah, Nutty Foodie Fitness was born.
I love that. Do you remember what year that was? 24?
2017?
2017?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
I love that. Okay, so you first get into fitness because an old friend convinces you to train them. Tell us about the kind of beginning of your fitness journey. Like, what kind of fitness were you doing? Were you doing weight training? Were you doing circuit training, classes?
But I'd say for the first year to 2 years, I was very afraid of touching any weights, like on my own. I would just go to the classes. So, you know, I would do HIIT classes, I would do kettlebell classes, legs, bums and tums. So I basically stuck to just classes. And over the year to 2 years, I started realizing that I was the one in the class just going absolutely ham every time, like using the heaviest weight, doing the most reps. Like, you know, if there was ever a class where at the end, I don't know, say we would do a plank or something and like last man standing sort of thing, like I was always there till the end. And I realized, you know, maybe I'm outgrowing these classes a bit. And so then I started, okay, like, let's see, what's the weight section all about? So then, you know, I got into lifting weights and doing the machines, and like, you know, I think it was probably like at least three and a half years into weight training that I learn even what a deadlift was. So, you know, we're really starting from the bottom. But, you know, you pick things up as you go along, and I've never been afraid to just ask a PT or anyone around me, like, you know, what's the correct form? Like, I'm not afraid to like learn or ask or be the beginner.
I love that. So classes first, then you got into more of the weight training. Like, help me understand, like, you know, I obviously you started sharing this on your Instagram during the journey. Like, what was, like, when was actually like Nutty Foodie Fitness born? Was that in 2017 or shortly after? Like, when did that come about?
Pretty sure it was like a week after I signed up to the gym, because my thought was this whole time, like my whole identity had always been the girl that eats a lot but doesn't, you know, like the lucky girl, you know, the one that eats like an elephant but actually doesn't move that much. Like, that was always me. And I realized that I actually don't need to continue just being that person that's never like been into fitness. Like, I can switch that up and I can decide, no, like, yeah, it might have taken me 24 years to like step foot in a gym, but if I can do it, then other people might be inspired to also do the same thing. So that's, yeah, how it started. I just started documenting a little bit, but I never really saw it as a I mean, I was going to say there was no end goal, but there was one mini goal. Shall I share?
Absolutely.
The goal was just to get free peanut butter. So that's also why I chose the name Nutty, because I tried all the usernames with peanut butter and peanutty, they're all taken. So I thought, okay, Nutty Foodie Fitness, maybe if I gain a few followers, like a company might send me some peanut butter. So that's and that dream came true.
I love it. That's so cool. So tell us about your first couple of sponsors that you started to work with. You know, as off recording, I kind of shared with you when I was first getting into my content creator career around fitness, I was, you know, paying a lot of attention to the Gymshark athletes. And I think that's how I stumbled upon you originally. And then really just fell in love with your energy and combining the fact that you can actually eat delicious food and train and be fit and have a really fun life. But what were some of those first initial brand sponsors of yours?
I actually feel like they came very quickly. I at first watched a lot of the same YouTube creators that my brother used to watch. He was into fitness way before me, and he would watch Rob Lipsett, Christian Guzman, Ryan, who at the time was Student Aesthetics. So all these guys, and they were all sponsored by My Protein. And I would watch them and I would say, one day I'm also gonna be sponsored by My Protein, and I'm gonna, have the peanut butter My Protein stash, and it's so weird because I said all this, and like I'd say not even 5 months into saying this, I had an email come through. I was at work at the time, had a desk job, normal job, and like the title of the email was "My Protein Wants You," and I just remember standing up, like everyone was at their desk working, and I just remember standing up, just like like in shock for so long before even opening the email, but thinking, oh my god, like I've done it, and like I hadn't even clicked the email yet, but like it was so bizarre. Like, sometimes people think that this whole manifesting thing is like so airy fairy, but I was like, something happened there. So My Protein happened very, very early on. I've been with My Protein for years now. So that was like one of the first brands that I worked with and still do work with. And then Gymshark was, I think, perhaps 2 years later. That's another, like, My Protein and Gymshark are my big sponsors, my OG partners.
I love it. Okay, so let's circle back to work. So how many years were you working before you decided to make this fitness content creator career the full-time thing?
I'd say about 3.5 years. I had 3.5 years or so. I had it as a side hustle, and then I had the main thing. But I feel like for most people, it's not that they start it with the end goal of that being their thing. Like, that was never my intention. But I realized, some days I'd be waking up at 4 a.m. before work to edit a YouTube video, to then go to the gym before going to work, because the gym almost like gave me energy to create and like write these deep, meaningful captions on my way to work. And it was like the gym session that inspired the caption. So it was like I had to do this whole thing, and I had to like train in order to get the energy to write the caption, and then I'd go to work, and then I'd think, wow, like, who wakes up at 4 a.m. to do something they're not even paid to do? Clearly someone that loves doing that thing. So, maybe it's time to switch things around, perhaps.
Yeah, I love that. So originally you would say you weren't chasing it for the money, you were doing it because you absolutely just love to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, I can still say, I mean, it's great to make money, but I would still say that I do this because I love doing it.
Yeah, I think that's what most people get wrong when it comes to the content creator game or career is
Yeah.
I think most people go after it for the money because they see people like you living this like dream creator life and they're like, "Oh, I want to do that," versus following the passion and following the fun. And then,
Yeah.
working at it for literally 3.5 years before it actually manifested into something that could support you. So I'm curious, on that 3.5 year journey, you're waking up at 4 a.m. To like edit YouTube videos, go train, write the captions. How frequently were you posting on Instagram and YouTube? Share with me kind of like your consistency and kind of like your content creation, like frequency.
Okay. So for roughly 4.5 years, I posted every single day on Instagram. Every single day without fail. Like, it doesn't matter what was going on. It doesn't matter if I'd broken up, with a partner. If I was going through something, if I was stressed, I would post every single day on Instagram. YouTube, I was not the most consistent because when I first started out on YouTube, it took me so long to edit a video. So for something that could take me half a day now, probably then took me like a month, because obviously you don't fully get into the zone. You've got to, I was also editing on the train on my way to work. Like any little time I would try and edit, and it's like it's not the most efficient, it's not the most effective way to work, so it would take even longer because my focus wasn't fully on it, but I wanted to create the content.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I'm curious, uh, how did you commit and stay committed to posting every single day on Instagram for 4.5 years? That's a long effing time.
It is, it really is. And I feel like it just became like part of the routine. It was like at the time, Instagram algorithms have changed so much now that if I didn't post, no one would even realize because you don't even get the posts of everyone that you follow. But back then, everyone kind of expected a post. Like, I would either post first thing in the morning before my 9 a.m. meeting, which I was usually quite late for because I was trying to post it before I entered the building, or at the end in the evening. And like a couple of times, life was happening and I'd get a few DMs like, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" And like, there was like a panic, like, she hasn't posted today. So I think like that's the thing that kind of made me always ensure that I posted. Like, yeah, it just wouldn't have felt right to not post.
I love that. It almost like became your daily creative workout. Like you're like, I'm not going to miss a day
Absolutely.
training in the creative gym.
Yeah,
And
because my sorry
go ahead.
my captions back then, when people I think had a greater attention span, because I actually think that, as the years have gone by, one line is enough, even an emoji is enough. But back then, when people had the time to read a whole essay, it was almost like a brain dump, like a journal, like whatever was happening in my life, I wrote it in a caption, but I wrote it in a way where I didn't have to specifically talk about what had happened. I would just make sure that the lesson or the learning was in the caption in some way. Because, you don't want to give everything away, but sometimes you want to just speak about it, and sometimes writing things down just helps you, you know, process things and get it out there.
100%. I think social media is such a powerful tool. Like a lot of people have, in my personal opinion, a bad relationship with social media because they think it's like this evil thing. But the truth is, like, social media is just a tool. It's not positive, it's not negative, it's just purely neutral. And how you use that tool dictates whether it's a good tool for you or a bad tool for you. Just like, you know, like a hammer, you can like build a house with, but you can also like break your finger. And it's like, how are you using that tool? And I think where most people fail with social media is they just, all they do is consume and they never create. And the truth is,
Mm-hmm.
everybody is a creator. We're all a creator of our own world. And I think the people like you who use social media to share positivity, like you literally said, like, sharing the lesson or the learning. Like you were always trying to add value with every single post, but you were also using it as a way for you to externally process. So instead of like,
Yeah.
you know, sitting there in your personal journal, you're actually sharing that journal online. And
Mm-hmm.
I think social media is so beautiful because it's literally like global consciousness unfolding online. And like
Yeah, I agree.
global consciousness for the most part is pretty low, it's pretty bad, but there's people like you who are like leveling up it to a higher like energy, like that's more about
Mm-hmm.
positive lifestyle, positive mindset, growth, learning, mistakes, failures, but learning from those mistakes and failures. And I think that is you know, one of the things that like people really don't understand, and where they just like sit there and consume versus like, you know, creating and then starting that own journey for themselves. So on that note, I'm just curious, if I were to ask you, what are some of the things that you think many people get wrong about content creation or content creator career?
It's one of the things they get wrong. It's kind of like what you said earlier, that people think about the end goal rather than enjoying what they're doing. Because when I post, I enjoy it. Like, I enjoy creating the video, I enjoy editing the YouTube video. It's not about that. It's not about the end YouTube video. It's about everything. And that's what people, I think, also miss. They wanna make an Instagram account and they want to have 100K followers the week after. Like, there's a disconnection here. Like, you can't just make it and expect to get the followers and the numbers. And I think as soon as you focus on the numbers, goodbye. Like, you're done, because it takes so much consistency to in order to gain the numbers, because people are there for the most part for, you know, authenticity. Like, they want to follow someone. Like, everyone has their thing, right? Like, whether it's their personality, whether it's whatever talent, like, everyone has their thing. And I think that you've got to focus on whatever it is you're bringing rather than thinking about the numbers, because if you enjoy what you're doing, you'll be consistent, and the numbers will just, they'll just come over time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's where people get lost is a couple things. One, like you're in love with the journey that you're on. So like for
Mm-hmm.
you, it's not about getting to X number of followers. It's just about consistently following your passion and your interests. And you know, passion, interest leads one to have fun. And in my opinion, like fun taps into spirit, and spirit is infinite. Whereas like if you're just like chasing a number goal, you're using willpower, and willpower is finite. Willpower will run out. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
chasing the fun, like that's infinite because that's connected to your spirit.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that. What about fitness? What do you think people get wrong with fitness?
I think there's a lot of things going wrong. There's a lot of things going wrong. Like the thing that I have always said, there's so many ways that you can move your body. Like that you can run, you can swim, you can lift weights. Like there's not a one single way that you should do. Well, there is actually. There's one way that you should be moving your body, and that's the way that you enjoy doing it. There's so many people that will watch other people and think, oh, like he's deadlifting, so therefore I need to go and deadlift. And to them, it's just a slog. Whereas to that person, they love doing the deadlift. So the thing that you need to do is you need to find what you enjoy doing, because that's the only way that you'll be consistent at it. And it's the only way that really you'll see progress, because no one is making progress doing something that they, do every, once a month, every blue moon. So I think the not being influenced by what you see around you and actually doing what you enjoy or what brings you happiness.
Yeah, I think that's totally true, which brings me back to the other point I wanted to make, which is your consistency. I mean, literally 4.5 years of posting every single day. Like that's insane. That's like very admirable. I just have to say, like, double high fives for that one.
Thank
Like
you.
that's like pretty consistent. I don't know if you can get more consistent than that. And I think that's where a lot of people who are focused on the numbers, it's like business, social media, fitness. You can't eat one healthy meal and work out once and expect to be in incredible shape the rest of the year. Like you have to eat, majority of the time fairly healthfully. You have to work out, 3 to 6 times a week, depending on kind of like what type of workouts you do and how much you like to work out and etc. And you have to do that month after month, year after year. And that's what brings about the results. Is that consistency. But again, it's like, you have never chased the like, oh, I want to have a body like her, so I'm only going to do what she's doing. Instead, you've always focused on what is fun for you in this given season of your life. And I'm curious, like, when did the season of endurance training start?
The season of endurance training started as a result of a YouTube video. So up until I decided I want to do an Ironman, as you do, I was challenged by Eric the Electric. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. He's a competitive eater, but he's also an extremely talented athlete. And we did a YouTube video together where he challenged me to do something. So he does crazy feats of food and fitness. So his challenge to me was to eat, I'm not sure how many donuts it was, an insane amount of donuts, and then follow up the donuts with an ultra marathon. So I was like, cool, okay. I thought, this is what I love to do. I love to have a stupid idea and try it out. If I do it, fantastic. If I fail, at least I tried, right? So I did this video, and everything was kind of going wrong. Like my YouTube, my camera was playing up right from the beginning in the morning. So I'm having to scoff the donuts before my camera shuts off. Everything was just not going right. But I thought, okay, like we're just going to roll with it. We're going to do it. So also ran, I don't know, I think the longest distance I have ever run in a YouTube video or in my life, did it. But I learned something from doing that day. And that was that I didn't feel satisfied with my performance. I felt like I did good for someone that's just decided to run an ultra and eat a ton of donuts. But there was something inside me thinking, like, what if I actually trained for something and put in time and effort into doing something rather than off the cuff just doing it. Because up until then, that's all I've ever done. Like, I've done the David Goggins challenge, where it's like you run 4K every 4 hours for 48 hours. Again, like, you know, off the cuff. Another day I did 100,000 steps to meet a subscriber. All these things I love because it was a challenge and I love a challenge. But there was also a part of me that I think was that I was never really seeing where my potential lied, because it was just get the idea, do the thing, and then think of something else. And so that's what really started like this thought process in my head of, okay, but like, what if I signed up to something crazy, because it's crazy enough to excite me, but yet it's still crazy that with training, could I still even do it? Like, there was still that still excited me, because it wasn't like, it's nothing like I've ever done before. I couldn't ride a bike, don't really swim, and I run very sporadically in these YouTube videos. Like, you know, I'd run for a month and then I wouldn't run for 2 years. So I thought, this is it. And that was the beginning of Nutty Foodie Fitness doing endurance sports.
I love it. So how long have you been doing the endurance sports at this point?
A year?
A year?
it was I decided I'm doing an Ironman. I signed up, and then the training began. And then October the 1st, I don't know if you can see it, but I got the tattoo just to prove that I did the Ironman.
So how long did you train for the Ironman before you did it?
I'm gonna say it was just under a year.
Okay. So you'd never swam, really, like like not competitively. You'd never ridden a bike.
As in, I couldn't even breathe on both sides. Like, no. I thought I could swim up until the day I got into the swimming pool to do my first swimming session, and then I realized, no, I can't swim. I thought I could swim, I can't swim. So yeah.
I love it. So in your training preparation, like, did you get coaches? Did you self-taught? Like, walk us through how you actually like brought about preparing for this Ironman that you just completed the other month. You know, how did that go?
A bit of an odd story. I was walking back from the gym and I was listening to a podcast on, can't remember whose podcast it was, but it was John McAvoy, who was, are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
He's you know, he's gone to prison, turned his life around, got into Ironman, triathlon, all of this. So I was listening to a podcast and I was like really inspired. So I just sent him a voice note and I said, do you know, I've been listening to a podcast and I just want to say, like, it's amazing, like, you know, really, really inspiring. And I just couldn't not tell you that. So I just sent that message to him. And then like a week later, he like messaged me back and he asked me about triathlon, and like the conversation kind of started of like me doing an Ironman. And then, you know, I said, I've thought about the idea, but I've not yet like put anything in motion. And he said, well, I know a guy who could coach you. And he basically sent me the email address of this coach. And it took me a few days to message. But I finally realized that instead of waiting for this perfect moment, because I was just like, yeah, like at some point I'll sign up and at some point I'll reach out, like, you know, one day. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to do it. And I wrote this email and I just said, title of the email was, I just want to be great. And so I sent this email and, you know, I had a Zoom call with my coach, Andrew, and you know when you know that you can fully click with someone, like I was just like, this is the perfect guy to coach me, and it all started from there. And yeah, he coached me through the whole Ironman, and yeah, he's actually like, I'd consider him one of my like bestest friends. Like he's way more than a coach now. Like we're super close, and yeah, it's so nice. Like not only did the Ironman give me like, it's taught me so much. Like I've grown so much as a person, as an athlete, as like everything. My whole life has basically switched. But it's also introduced me to new people, and like I'm so grateful for like falling into triathlon, because there's so many people in my life now that I would never have met if it wasn't for this whole swim, bike, run shenanigan.
I love it. Yeah, it's so cool that you have this theme where you are constantly just like finding challenges that, you know, build confidence, self-esteem, encourage like growth. And, you know, in my own experience, like I've had some of the most healing, transformative experiences like on a bike. Like when you're riding like insane amount of miles, there's something
Yeah,
like crazy about just like the cycle spinning like again and again, like breathing really heavily. It's so therapeutic and meditative. Like
yeah,
I somewhat similar thing to you. My first foray into cycling is I signed up for a Gran Fondo, which is a 100-mile ride. Um, and I'd never ridden maybe more than like 8 to 10 miles. And it was only because like the Four Seasons reached out to me and they're like, hey, you want to like want us, we'd like to sponsor you and have you do this bike ride because we know you're like a local in fitness influence in the area. And I was like, sure, why not? And I literally, as I was like cycling, I felt this like energetic like release in my lower stomach, and I literally started like crying my face off. And like, true story, I felt like I was on like MDMA, but I wasn't. Like I was just like cycling my face off and pushing my body
yeah,
so hard. And it was honestly like one of the most like healing journeys I've ever been on, was just like attempting to do that. I didn't even finish. Like my body gave up like 57 miles in, like, cause
yeah.
I spent 2 weeks training for 100 miles.
But that's amazing. In fact, that's really impressive as a, you know, as a just jumping into it. Like 57 miles. I work in kilometers, but that's a heck of a lot.
Yeah. It was an incredible experience I'll never forget. And that's one of the reasons like I'm such a big fan of endurance sports. I'm not like currently training for anything, but I think because they're so hard and so long, they like force
Yeah.
you to go into these places within your mind and heart that you rarely go to.
I'm getting goosebumps just like thinking, because exactly what you're saying. Like I've had sessions where I've been on the turbo, you know, in the garage on my bike, and I'm just like, I'm crying. Like and it's not like, it's not sadness. It's just like an overwhelming amount of emotion, and like so much just goes into it, like endurance, that you really like, you learn a lot about yourself, and you have so many conversations with yourself, and yeah, like tears just end up happening. But I embrace it all. I've done interval runs where I'm crying
Yeah.
and I'm getting a PB.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. After I did that, like, you know, my wife and I ended up getting a Peloton bike for the home. And like, same thing will happen sometimes. I'll just be cycling and it's not like sadness, it's just like emotion welling up, like coming up for release. And it like, it's so cathartic and so like healing. And so, yeah, I love, that's the like one of my most favorite things about those like different types of endurance sports, whether it's running, cycling, I'm sure the same thing happens when you're swimming really long distances. I haven't done that yet. So
I feel like just based off of your experience doing that, attempting the 100-mile cycle, I feel like you would come out a changed man if you did an Ironman.
yeah.
Honestly, I can't even tell you how rewarding it is. Well, not to mention how hard, but the reward, like it's like I've never felt anything like it. And my boyfriend always tells me for me to never ever do drugs because of my energy. But like when you cross the line, I can imagine that is what it feels like to be, high on drugs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good call out. I have a very addictive personality. So like I'm addicted to fitness. Like I'm one of those people, like it's really hard for me to take a rest day because like I'm mentally, emotionally addicted to training. So
Yeah.
I definitely I stay away from the drugs and alcohol personally because I know myself and I've
Yeah.
been there and choose my addictions wisely nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us like what's coming with the endurance training. Like you did the Ironman, you completed it, you got a freaking tattoo. Like what's next?
The plan was one and done. I was like, that's it, one Ironman, I'm done. When I went to the swimming pool before I went to Barcelona, which is where I did my Ironman, I actually said to the lifeguard, I said, see ya, like I'm never coming back to the swimming pool again. And he was like, why not? And I said, well, because I'm just doing an Ironman and like this is my last session before the Ironman. So, it's been really fun. Yeah, this public pools are something else. We won't talk about it. I said, it's been an experience, but like good to meet you. And he was just like, oh, like that's a shame. So yeah, did Ironman Barcelona, and it looks like I'm doing another Ironman.
Now you're addicted. You can't quit now.
Well, do you know, it was always a thing where I didn't know how I was going to feel doing it. I didn't know if it was going to be I start that race and throughout I'm thinking, what did I do? Why did I sign up to this? Like I can't wait for this to be over. But genuinely, I enjoyed every single 11 hours and 45 minutes of that Ironman. Like every single minute and 29 seconds, I believe. I enjoyed every second, and that was the one thing that made me think, okay, like maybe triathlon is not over. But then I qualified for the Ironman World Championships. So, yeah, I honestly did not see that coming. Like I honestly, the night before the Ironman, I was Googling the cutoff times for the bike because I didn't think I was going to make the cutoff on the bike. And then I came 10th in my age group and qualified. I just like, I still don't understand how this all happened. But long story short, I qualified and it's taken me nearly 2 months. It's taken me nearly 2 months to decide what to do, like whether to go ahead or not. And today, as we're recording this podcast, I have filmed a YouTube video and I'm going to be doing, this is the qualifier coin, I'm going to be doing the Ironman World Championships in Nice 2024 next year.
Wow. I'm so honored that you announced that on my show. Now, I'll make sure my show comes out after your YouTube video.
After.
But nonetheless,
Yeah.
I'm like stoked that I got to connect with you today on the day that you made the decision to actually do the World Championships. Like that's like epic AF. So huge congrats and like super excited for
Thank
you.
you.
So it sounds like you'll
Mad.
be training with your coach for the next year, getting prepared for that.
It looks like it. The thing is, this Ironman it's a whole new challenge because it's now, I can ride a bike, I can swim, I can run. However, I have very poor bike handling skills, and Nice is basically, the most technical bike course you could ever pick. So it's like, great stuff. So it means that I'm probably going to have to go to a few training camps, which is something I have not done before. Means a lot more traveling, but also with traveling comes epic views and, cool content. So I'm excited for that, but I'm not underestimating the task that I have for next year. Like, it's going to be insane. And I'm scared. Like, I'm seriously scared because the descents and the climbs are just like, oh, honestly, it makes me want to throw up just the thought of it. But that's also what excites me, because it's like, can I do it? Well, I'm gonna try my bloody best. And yeah, that's the new challenge for 2024.
Yeah, it's hard not to be in love with your life when you set things like that in front of your future path. So congratulations, Stephanie. That's like so as you would say, rad. Like, seriously,
So
so
rad.
rad. All right. Well, a bit of a transition. I want to talk a little bit more about the business side of the content creator career, as well as start to wind the show down, because I know your partner Grant will be home soon, and you're in London, and it's already 6 or 7 p.m. there. So, question for just on the business side. So, what are the different ways that you as a content creator are able to generate an income to support yourself? Help, like, kind of break down, like, what are the different sources and how do you go about like creating those and sustaining those?
Yeah, so I think that most people, because I do YouTube as my main job, like I'm a YouTuber, I think a lot of people just assume that all the money is basically made off YouTube, which is actually like probably the smallest part. So on YouTube, you get paid through ad revenue. So, when you watch a video and you get that annoying ad in the middle that you want to skip, that's where money is being made when people watch my videos. So there's the ad revenue side. And then there's also the paid partnerships within the YouTube videos. So, where suddenly you're like, this video is sponsored by, and then, Stanley, let's just say. So then there's the integrated ads within YouTube. So there's two bits there for YouTube. And then my, the where I make the bulk of my money, I'd say, is my long-term partnerships. So, Gymshark, I work with My Protein. I also work with Whoop. I'm not sure if
Yep.
are you a Whoop user? Hey,
Just like you, I got the
how's your
Garmin and
recovery?
the Whoop, just like you.
How's
But
your recovery
I
today?
also got an Aura ring on because I'm a bit of a
Oh,
tracking nerd. My recovery was 60% today. I pushed myself pretty hard at the gym yesterday. So how about yours?
okay, good. Do you know I've had a green streak for over a week. I think it's about like 9 days, and today I'm in the yellow. So I was gutted about that. It's so nice to just see that green streak.
Yeah.
But yeah, tangents. And then I also do make my income from Instagram. So, the posts or the stories where, say, I'm promoting a service or clothing. So, when you do like the whole click this link, there's commission involved. Oh, there's also commission for the partnership. So as well as it being like a monthly wage, then there's also the commission. So every time someone uses my link, let's just say for this jumper, I'll make a percentage of that. So yeah, so have I summed it up well enough?
Yeah, so basically YouTube ad revenue, then there's in video ads, like where you're like presenting a product naturally, like, or seamlessly within the actual YouTube video. Then there's like the monthly payment from your different brands that I'm sure
Yeah.
have some sort of requirement about how many posts you make a month and all of that stuff. And then on top of that, you're receiving commission from, people using your link or your promo code. And
Nailed it.
Boom. Got it. Just making sure I didn't miss
Yeah.
anything there.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Okay, cool. So how did you actually decide to like leave your job? Like your 9 to 5?
Weird story. I feel like every time it's like a weird story, but my decision to do this full time, I fell into. So it wasn't I'm leaving my job to do this. It was a Monday morning. I was in the lift on my way up to, it was high up. There was many floors, and I was in the lift, and everyone was doing the normal small talk that happens in the lift. How was your weekend? And everyone's like, yeah, good, but like back to the office. You know, like that really sort of depressing conversation that you just overhear. And I'm there just listening, and I'm thinking, like, yeah, like I'm really not that excited to be going into the office today on a Monday morning to sit at my desk. And it was like a switch just happened in my head. Like it was a switch that happened. I'm quite impulsive. And I got up, I got to my desk, I sat down, I messaged my manager on Slack, which was, you know, what everyone uses. And I just said, can we just have a meeting? And I went to this meeting later that day because I thought, let me give myself the morning to really like think it through. Gave myself the morning, had my lunch, and in the afternoon I had this meeting, and I just said, you know, I'm not that excited about my job, and I just think that life is a little bit short to be doing something that you're not that excited to do. Like, I wake up at 4 to edit a video, not even getting money for, but yet I'm not that excited to sit at my desk at 9 a.m. for something that I'm getting paid for. So my plan, I had a plan. My plan was quit the job and then do YouTube for a little bit, just a little bit, and then find another design job. Like, that was my idea, because I thought, I'm not yet sure what sort of design I want to do. Like, I've always designed, art is what I've always done my whole life. Illustration, painting, graphic design, just everything. I've loved art. So I just thought, you know, I'll do YouTube for a bit and then I'll find another design job, and I'm not yet sure what that looks like. But I never did need to find out what that looks like, because I never signed up to another job. I just stayed, and YouTube just happened to end up being the thing.
I love it. Such a beautiful story. Gives lots of people hope. But if you do want to go down the content creator career, you're going to have to post daily for 4.5 years if you actually want to make it. So follow the fun. Don't chase the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I actually don't think that, you know, my story, like, you shouldn't use my story as a, like, leave your job, like, goodbye, see ya. Like, you shouldn't use that as a thing, because I you need to have some sort of foundation. Like, at the time, I obviously already had YouTube. I already had a couple of sponsors. So it wasn't like I was completely like going into it from zero. There was something there. And if I didn't have that, I would have, of course, thought about, you know, the job or the plan a bit more. But I was in a position to like not be too concerned. But even still, I did not, when I quit, I did not think this is it. Like, I didn't even think it could have been a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I always, because I work with a lot of people on like entrepreneurship and side hustles, is like, don't quit the day job until you've built at least a foundation of the side hustle, whether that's another entrepreneurial business, whether that's a content creator career. Because like you mentioned, like, you already had some brand sponsors. You've done proof of concept. You could earn money doing this. Now, was it as much money as your job? Probably not. But then you kind of went into it like, hey, I'm going to try this full time for a couple months, and worst case scenario, I'll just get another job. That's the plan, is I'm going to do this for full time for a few months or a year or whatever. Then I'll go get another design job. So you basically had a backup plan if it didn't work out, and you weren't even planning for it to work out. You're like, hey, I'm just going to give this a shot, see what happens. But like worst case scenario, I just go get another job. And I'm a big fan of that too. Like, I don't like the burn the bridges idea. Like, like quit your job and follow your passion. I'm same as you mindset. Like, build up the passion on the side. Make sure it truly is a passion that you can be consistent for a few years. And then once you're able to do proof of concept, it's making some money, maybe not as much as your current 9 to 5, but kind of through a simple analysis, hey, if I put more time and energy into this, I could make even more money, and I enjoy it 100 million times more than my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you're such an inspiration, Stephanie. Couple last questions for you as we land this ship. So I always ask every guest to share one tip, tool, or strategy for fitness, one for money, and one for life. So let's start with fitness.
Okay, let's start with fitness. And this tip is going to come from what I learned whilst I trained for that Ironman. And that is that when you feel discomfort, whether it's your legs are absolutely dying doing the leg press, or you're running and you're hobbling and you want to quit, like, you use that discomfort like it's a good thing. Like, when that arrives, I use it like as a little kind of like, because I'm quite visual, I see it as like, when you have folders on your desktop and you put in that footage on your desktop, it's in a folder, and you're almost storing that in your head so that the next time that you feel this struggle, you remember the other time that you've now saved, and you realize that you got through that, that hardship that last time, so then you can get through it again. So it's almost like you use your struggle to your advantage. Like, it's always a good thing when you're in pain. It's always a good thing, because it means that you will grow from that. Like, there's no growth when you're comfortable. So that's the one thing that I always keep in my head. Like, whenever I hit a wall, like, that's a great thing. Like, I welcome it fully. So that's my tip to surviving the discomfort when you're training.
I absolutely love that. It's so cool that you provided the visual too, because like you're thinking, like it's like that folder that you would keep your B-roll on for your YouTube video that you're producing. You're like, I have a folder in my mind that's like all the times where I hit massive amounts of struggle but got through it.
Yeah.
And knowing that I have all that B-roll of all the times I got through it, I'm going to get through this one as well. So I may as well just embrace the pain and keep pushing.
It works every single time, believe me.
Super inspirational. Thank you for sharing. How about a tip, tool, or strategy for money?
Yeah. This is a great one. When I first started working for myself, I thought that I could do all the finance stuff all on my own. And when it came around to the tax year and self-assessments, I would absolutely panic. Like, I couldn't sleep for weeks because I was thinking, the deadline's approaching and I need to get this and I need to get that, and I'm Googling everything. Like, I'm Googling the terms, and I had no idea, okay? And I still, even now, don't know how I managed to fill out these self-assessment forms for 2 years. My number one advice, get an accountant.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've shared this before on the podcast, but I got so back in the day before I turned my money situation around, when I was like working for myself, I got 6 years behind on my taxes because I got so stressed out by it that I just didn't do it. And then 1 year turned into 2 years, turned into 3 years. And then the way I got myself out of that is I hired an accountant that I still use to this day. And now when tax time comes, like, I don't freak out. I'm just like, what do you need from me? Okay, I'll go get it. I go get it for her, and she does everything. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so easy. Why did I wait so long to get an accountant? So I think that's a genius money tip.
Yeah, everyone needs one. Everyone needs one.
Yeah, 100%. I would say, like, if you're comfortable doing it yourself, go for it. But if you have any anxiety or stress around your taxes,
yeah,
just
it's not worth it.
Pay someone to do it for you,
yeah,
and your life will be so much richer.
So true.
Yeah. Awesome. How about a tip, tool, or strategy for life?
For life, I would go down the cliche thing of like, do what makes you happy. But I'm instead gonna say, when you want to do something and you feel scared and fear is what is holding you back from doing something, like it absolutely petrifies you, the idea of doing this thing, but like the thing is still in your mind. Feel the fear and do it anyway is my number one advice, because I'm taking my own advice here, because World Championships, petrified. Nice bike course, oh my God. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it anyway. So that's my advice. Feel the fear and do it anyway, because that's where all the growth happens. That's where you learn. That's where you develop. That is where you will feel the most satisfaction when you reach that goal.
100% agree. Yeah, fear is the way shower to living a life that you absolutely love. Awesome. Well, Stephanie, any other last words of wisdom? I know we got Nutty Foodie Fitness merch coming out soon.
Yeah.
So if this podcast comes out after that's available, I'll put a link in the show notes. Definitely for all of you, connect with Nutty Foodie Fitness, aka Stephanie Joshi, on Instagram and YouTube under Nutty Foodie Fitness. But any last words of witness? Go ahead.
They need to absolutely immediately subscribe to the YouTube channel, like immediately. They need to hit the bell. They need to hit the bell right now, and then they need to go to Instagram and follow.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Because, I just want to bring the energy and I want to brighten people's day. So if I can do that, and if they get the energy through this podcast, then, they're going to get even more of that on my channel. So, plug hard or literally like don't earn a living. So you've got to do it,
Yeah. Actually, I have one question, if you don't mind me asking. After you eat 10,000 calories, how do you recover from that? Like, do you fast for the next few days? What do you do after you eat 10,000 calories?
The day after I ate 10,000 calories, I recall going to Nando's. Do you have Nando's there?
Mm-mm.
I don't know if you do. Okay, so Nando's is like a very basic but popular place in the UK. Like everyone just goes there. Is like the saying is like you get a basic Nando's. So I went to Nando's. They do like chicken and peri-peri chips. It's beautiful stuff. And I also remember eating Krispy Kreme donuts. So
just back to normal.
I can't say my appetite went, down.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah, you just carry on with life, as if
just keep on trucking. Awesome. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you spending time with me. You've definitely been energetic inspiration to me. So couldn't agree more with you. Like, definitely give her content a follow, subscribe. It's definitely going to add joy and enthusiasm to your life. And to all the listeners out there, like, don't be afraid to find a challenge that scares you and do it, because through that you'll build confidence, you'll build self-esteem, and it will transform your life. So Stephanie, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and stay nutty, my friends.
Yes.